Good evening and welcome back to yet another exciting BA session. Let's go ahead and initiate the review for the evening. Can somebody please unmute and talk about the various components of a project plan? What are the various components of a project plan?
The various components of project plan are work breakdown structure, resources, durations, types of relationship. That's it.
What are the various deliverables of a project manager? So please talk about each of those deliverables.
Project management, work breakdown structure, critical path analysis, on value management, right?
Please continue.
So, and create clear and simple project objectives, building the project requirements, issue resources, project status reporting, manage people constraints for the project. And the main responsibilities are like work breakdown structure, critical path analysis, and earning value management.
Can you talk about each of those briefly?
That's sure. Like work breakdown structure is like define the group of the project, describe the work element or task to their workers, where they help to organize and define the total work scope of the project. Critical path is like can be defined as a logical sequences of the series and events necessary for the successful search project in such a manner that it must affect the root of some element point can be evaluated. On value management is technique for measuring project progress in an objective.
What are triple constraints? And what do we need to know about triple constraints? Please, one second, let me finish. Please also provide an example to illustrate your understanding of triple constraints. Try to give an example that was not discussed in the class. Give an example that was not discussed in the class to illustrate the demonstration of triple constraints.
Triple constraint challenge of every project to make a work and be specific with the triple constraint. Triple constraint scope, resources,
Can you please come closer to the microphone? Your voice is breaking up.
Yeah, sure. Triple constraints are like scope, resources, and time. And for example, like if I'm planning to finish anything on time, like if I'm doing on my backyard work, and if I put like my grass first and then I start doing my fountain, that grass will be like get bad after I finish my fountain. So I will finish my fountain first and then place grass. So that will save my time and resources too. So it's all about which thing you have to do first before you're doing the second thing.
Can somebody else talk about triple constraints? What do we need to know about triple constraints and illustrate that with an example? What are triple? Let's give others an opportunity. Right. What are triple constraints? What do we need to understand about triple constraints? And give an example to illustrate triple constraints.
Pradeep here. Triple constraints are the scope, cost, the scope, the resources, and the time. And in doing a project, let's say I'm putting granite on the countertops in the kitchen, and something happened during the way that I'm putting in, it's taking longer time and longer, in cutting the countertop, I broke a little bit of piece, so I had to go back again to the store and get it, and it takes time and also the money. And in order to adjust, all the three things, the scope, the resources, and the schedule, all work in tandem, and one alteration or one extension or one this thing results in either delaying the project or if we are finishing it early and things you know um, go in a way that we're going to be finishing it early. So all the three triple constraints, all the three work in tandem together, and if an extension of one results either an extension of one and another constraint, and then um,
Can somebody please define a project and also list the various projects that we've discussed in the class? Define what a project is, identify the key characteristics of the project, and talk about the various projects. Don't just list them, but try to explain what they are.
Okay. Project may be like independent in nature. For example, building new house. Project may be dependent on other project. First finish, then only the second can start. So project would be like a, for example, you gave us yesterday was like a kitchen and living room. It all depends on, you have to identify which depends on which thing.
Can somebody else please define what a project is?
Hello,
Identify the key characteristics of a project
Hi.
and list the various types of projects as discussed in class.
This is Rachmika.
Please go ahead.
The key characters of the project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or result. As we discussed in the class, there is different types of projects we can build on, and as the projects can build, we can gradually make a portfolio. So, for example, we talked about house project. How many bedrooms does it need? And we also talk about the laptop project, where you give an example that if you do one thing over and over, it's a process. Job is not a project. So the project has a unique characteristic, and it's a temporary thing to get it done. There is a specific goal achieved to it. Hi.
But what about the various types of projects?
Hello. This is Victoria. Can you hear me?
Let's go ahead, Acharya.
Okay. The types, first of all, a project is a temporary act that is undertaken to create a unique product. It has a time constraint. It can be a product or a service. Types of projects are the new initiatives. This is a project that you start from the beginning without any work already done. And we have the capital project, and this is project that you that is based on capital finances. And we have the operational project. We have the ongoing effort project. And this is the kind of project that has been already in process. You just have to commit to it and put in some work on it. We also have the in-house project and the vendor project.
What are the various types of stakeholders that you would find in different types of organizations? Please list the different types of organizations and also list the stakeholders in those different organizations. I want a complete and an accurate answer. Don't just give me some answer or generic answer or partial answer. I want you to understand the question and answer accurately. What are the various types of organizations and list the various stakeholders within those types of organizations.
Various organizations are functional organization, projectized organization, and matrix organization. And stakeholders participate in that is like individual or group or organization with interest of project. Some of them are project teams, business sponsors, executive team members, implement partners, business users, and etc.
That brings us to the conclusion of our review for the evening. Some quick housekeeping items. Instructions for assignment number 2, creation of project plan, has been posted. There are a variety of tools that you can utilize to complete your assignment. The preferred tool is MS Project, but if you don't have MS Project or if you cannot download MS Project onto your machine because of operating system incompatibilities, then there are other options like Merlin, OmniPlan, Fast Track Schedule, Open Project, and many other project management tools. There are some web-based tools like Clarity or Discovery or some of the other tools like EPPM.
Thank you.
Can you please mute your lines? I'm getting some static in background. If you're not speaking, please mute your lines. We don't want any background noises here. So there are various other tools, and you can utilize any of those tools. But as I said, the preferred tool is to complete your project plan in MS Project. 2013 is a good version, so please read the instructions carefully. Export your project plan into PDF format. I don't want to see project plan attachments. I don't want to see MPP attachments. I'd like to see PDF format attachments. Click on this assignment and follow the instructions. Follow the naming conventions for your assignment. Click on Add File, and then you should be able to select it from your local hard drive.
Excuse me, how are we going to convert our our MS Project file into PDF file?
It is for you to research and find out.
All right.
This is Gene Osteen. Can you hear me?
Yes, Gene, go ahead. Welcome. So, Gene, can you introduce yourselves? Let us know what your background is, what is your educational background,
Absolutely.
and your work experience and your current location so that we know who you are.
No problem. I am, Gene Osteen. I'm from Miami or the Miami area, Miami, Florida. I have a bachelor's degree in information technology with a special concentration in security, and I'm also in my master's program in project management, it's actually a MSIT, Master's of Science in Information Technology, with a specialization in project management. I have been in the IT industry for, 20 years, and I've been a sales engineer for pretty much most of those years. which means I go out and make sure that the salespeople don't get themselves in trouble. I look at business processes and develop with, depending on the size of the project, it really determines the size of the team, but I put, we put solutions together and then present those solutions to customers. So that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years, and that's kind of caught you up to date in a 5-minute bio, or a 5-second bio.
Thank you, Gene, and welcome aboard. But I'd like to ask a follow-up question here.
Yes.
So if you have experience with an IT, why business analysis now?
Pardon?
If you already have some experience in IT, and if you've been in this IT industry for so long, doing business consulting or acting as a sales consultant, why do you want to change your career to become a business analyst?
Well, that's kind of the direction the industry is headed, to be honest with you. When I first started, what I did and what all of we were called system analysts, not business analysts, 20, even 10 years ago for that matter. And we pretty much not only went out and looked at what the customer's needs were or defined those needs, but we also researched and came up with solutions, and where needed, we implemented the solutions, and where needed, we followed all the way through with testing and with training on the solutions. So I'm not necessarily, I don't have the title of business analyst, but given that I am I am in my master's program for as a project management specialization, I am trying to transition into a business analyst role for a long-term goal of being a project manager. Now, with that said, the predominant, the piece that I want to focus on as it relates to being a business analyst is information technology and solving problems with technology. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So thank you very much, Gene. Thanks for that response. And I once again formally welcome you.
Let me ask you this. Am I in the right class to do that?
Right class to
accomplish what I just explained to you my goals were.
Okay, so if you want to become a business analyst, you're right. If you want to become a project manager after being a business analyst for a few years, you're still in the right class. Okay? If you want to get a job as a business analyst, you're in the right class. If you want to clear a job interview as a business analyst, you're in the right class.
Perfect.
But if you are trying to build a solution, maybe you're not in the right class. We'll discuss that in today's class. Okay. All right. Anyway, a few things, Gene. I'm assuming that you would have been briefed by the training coordinators or other administration team members about the blog. So we do have a blog. Please try to get access to the blog.
I went through the 5-minute bio, or not bio, but the 5-minute YouTube video last night. I'm online. I have all of the materials. I've got the previous session, the 3 previous sessions that I've missed that I plan to catch up on this weekend.
All right, excellent. So you know it. So good, very good.
The only question I have is, you had an assignment that was due today, correct? The 17th? Was that today, 17th? No, yesterday, the 17th. Is that right?
That's fine. You can do it, and then you can submit it because you just joined today, so not a problem. Okay, that deadline doesn't hold for you, so no problem. Go ahead.
The next one is due Monday?
Yes. So the instructions are also posted on the blog. You can refer to the blog.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, one quick other announcement before we proceed. I hope everyone is staying up to date with the extra read material. We covered various types of organizations. We talked about triple constraints, and we also talked about a project plan. So by now, you should at least be able to read extra read number 1 and extra read number 2. Okay. After today's session, probably you should be able to complete extra read number 3 and 4 as well, at a minimum. Also, please do focus on the interview tips and stay up to date with that. The reason is, now is the time where you can allocate to reading some of these extra read materials and interview tips. Because as we progress in this program, there are several assignments. There is a lot of work that you will be tasked with. And then you may not have the needed time to read through them. So therefore, do not have anything pending from your side. Try to stay up to date with all these reading material and learning activities. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the role of a business analyst. We understood the positioning of a business analyst. We talked about how a project can be successful, what needs to be done in order for a project to be successful. A project manager, or I should say a good project manager, should be able to balance triple constraints of a project. These three elements are critical for the success of a project. Okay. Besides that, we've also seen the deliverables or the responsibilities of a project manager and the artifacts that a project manager is supposed to be producing within a project. Also, we created a project plan in MS Project, and there are various components within a project plan. And we also established that a project manager can measure the progress of each of these tasks, okay, during their weekly status meetings, and then report it appropriately to various groups as needed. So let's come back to business analysis and talk about business analysis. In our introductory session, we talked about, or we defined, what business was. Business is an organization that is concerned with providing products or services to satisfy customer requirements with the objective of making a profit or not for profit. So we gave plenty of examples pertaining to business that provides products. Apple is a product-oriented company. Service-oriented companies, educational institutions, or hospitals, or some of the counseling or counseling organizations. So those are all businesses, and the motive can be to make a profit or not for profit. And then we also talked about what analysis is. Can somebody unmute and list the one-line definitions of analysis as discussed in our class on day 1?
Pradeep here. Discovery rather than inventing. Why as to be how. You know. Problems rather than questions rather than answers, and problems rather than solutions, facts rather than opinions, yeah. Outcome rather than process. Yeah.
So discipline of identifying business needs, gathering requirement, analyzing the requirement, and document the requirement.
We've decided that, or we've established that analysis is a discovery rather than invention. Okay. A need already exists in place. There is always a business need. The users are trying to accomplish something. Either it could be increasing their ROIs, reducing their TCOs, or improving their efficiencies, or being lean, or being profitable, or being agile. So it could be anything. So a business user group always has a need, and our job as a business analyst is to be able to discover that need. The invention part is not our job. The invention part is the job of the technical team members. Also, we need to find the facts. Don't form an opinion. In my opinion, customer wants this. No, it's a fact. Also, it is questions rather than answers. Okay. For example, I wanted to know what the fact was. I wanted to understand why Gene joined this program. If you already had this experience and if you already had degrees, why? So I didn't form an opinion that, oh, maybe he's here to get a job. So you should be able to ask the right questions. Also, analysis is why rather than how. We need to understand why customers would like to have a certain feature or a functionality or a capability within the product or within the application rather than how to accomplish it. The how part will be taken care of by the technical team members. Also, this goes back to the same statement questions, problems. See, every organization, every business unit is trying to address a problem statement. We need to identify what those problem statements are. Solution approaches will come in later by the solutions team. Our job is to be a business analyst, not a solutions analyst. Also, we are interested in the outcome. So, we need to understand the outcome. The process of arriving at that outcome will kick in later, but first we need to understand what the outcome is. I'll come back to each one of you to address your questions. I see some hands are raised.
I was going to say, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, go ahead.
In your previous slide, where you say discover rather than invention, and I understand that under the analysis piece, but doesn't the business analyst act as pretty much a liaison between the stakeholders or the company or the functional unit that you're improving the process of business process for and the IT team, and potentially be a part of coming up with the solution that will ultimately be put in place to solve the problems?
So that's a good question. However, we did address this question very clearly. We did talk about the involvement of a business analyst in terms of identification of the solution. We talked about the core responsibility of a business analyst. I would recommend you to go back and visit our videos, review our videos from session 1, because we talked about it in an extensive manner. Okay, so please go through that. If you still have questions, bring them back to the class, and I'll be happy to address your question.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. So we did define business analysis to be a process of identifying, gathering, documenting, and managing the requirements within a business process. Okay. So what else is a BA involved in besides gathering requirements or managing requirements and documenting? BA may also re-engineer the business process. What do you mean by re-engineering, and why do we have to re-engineer? Re-engineering is to fine-tune an existing process, or re-engineering is to accomplish a certain goal. The organization may have to change the way of handling things or the way of doing things. For example, let's say today in an insurance organization, claims are being processed as follows. So step number 1, the policyholder will have to fill a claim form and then mail it in. Step number 2, the office that receives the mails will have to sort it out within the insurance organization, and then they have to sort it into the claims folder. Then step number 3, somebody has to validate the information. Is this policyholder an active policyholder? Do they have any dues? Are there any issues with their policy? Is the claim information submitted pertaining to the vehicle that is covered within the policy? So after evaluating all of that, then they probably will send it to an underwriter who will determine the compensation amount that they are eligible for. And then once that is done, probably it will be sent to the supervisor or somebody who will approve it. And then they will send it to the finance department who will write a check. And then step number 7, they will send it to the shipping department or mailing department who will mail the check out to the policyholder or customer. So today, if claims is being done in these 7 different steps, now the organization may think, oh, for us to be able to process a claim, we need to go through these 7 different steps, and it can take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. However, if only they automate this process, if only they try to build a new solution. For example, let's say they built an online version of their application and gave access to their policyholders. So now policyholders can go online, click on the claim form, and then provide the needed information. And also they can probably upload some pictures pertaining to the vehicle and the damage. And before the system accepts the claim and generates the claim ID, let's say it also validated the information of the policyholder. Okay. And then after validating, it will generate a claim ID. Now, there can be some business rules or intelligence built into the system for the system to validate the type of damage. So they probably can have multiple tiers or multiple categories or classes. So category 1 damage, category 2, category 3, okay, or level 1, level 2, level 3 type of damage. And then they can establish a certain bracket that this claim would fall under. So all that intelligence can be built into the system. So now that claim is accepted by the system, a claim ID is generated, and the policyholder will be displayed with a message saying, hey, your claim has been submitted. Please wait for 7 to 10 business days for it to be processed. Okay. So now, once the claim information is generated, it automatically now may send it to the underwriter. Step number 4. Now the underwriter will have to evaluate that and say, yes, it's all right. Or yes, this particular claim falls under this category and this is the amount that they are eligible for, this damage. Now, directly, once the underwriter approves it, the system should have a mechanism of generating a workflow which will now go to the finance department where they'll be able to authorize the payment. So once they authorize the payment either can be credited to the policyholder based on the choice that they made during the submission of the claim, or the payment can be given to the customer or policyholder in the form of a direct deposit or something like that in an electronic format. So now, you see, we have eliminated 1, 2, 3. All of these are out. All of these are out. Similarly, we have eliminated step number 5. We will also eliminate step number 7. Because of bringing in a new system, we have re-engineered a business process. Also, not only that, but we may have to, we probably also cut short with the time from 3 to 6 months, now probably 7 to 10 business days. They are able to handle more claims per day. So you as a business analyst may have to help the business users or the clientele in understanding the processes. So for that, there are some prerequisites. You yourself should be familiar with the claim process. You should understand how the organization works. You should have some basic domain knowledge, so that you can propose some of the aspects of improvisation within a business process. I can guarantee you, you may not necessarily be re-engineering a business process in the very first assignment. 99% of you may not be doing that. However, if you are a senior analyst or a lead analyst or an expert analyst, and if you've been in an organization for quite some time, and if you're familiar with all the processes, then yes, you may be pulled into re-engineering a business process. For example, today I was in a meeting this morning at my client location, and we were trying to come up with a solution, or we were trying to come up with a process, I should use the word process, to expedite the availability of data to our end users for them to be able to do some analysis. So let's say there's customer data, product data, and then sales data. Now, if we do it in a traditional manner like we are doing it, our customers will have to wait for at least a week because it has to flow from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 systems for them to get to that data. But let's say if we are implementing a tool like Informatica IDS, Informatica Data Services tool or something like that, a data visualization tool. Now, customers can come into our system. By using this tool, they can map various data sets and do a matching of these different objects within the database and visualize the data that they would like to view. Now guess what? If you are able to accomplish that, for some users it may take 5 days, for some other users it takes 15 days, for some other users it will be 1 month before they can get their hands on this data, because there are varying frequencies for data loads. So now we were re-engineering a business process. By doing that, we were able to save time, which in turn can be translated into a dollar amount ultimately. Also, you as a business analyst may be involved in scheduling and budgeting and reporting status. If you are doing that, I have a question. I want you to unmute and answer my question. Please be very specific. Don't give a generic answer. What type of project would you be working on if you as a business analyst are doing schedules, budgets, and reporting the status of the project?
Operational expenditure project.
Excellent. Operational expenditure project. Why? Because it is an operational expenditure project where you'd also be functioning as a BA and also as a project manager. But then there is one thing that a BA will never ever do and should not do, which is do a comprehensive end-to-end design of the system or application and write code. See, I have been asked this question several times in my interview. Okay, this is a trick question. I was asked, hey, we see that you do have some programming experience from your education. Great. So I was asked this question several times, and most recently also by one of the directors within the Disney Interactive Media Group. And she said, it's so wonderful to see that you've got this experience. So would you be able to step up to the role and then do some coding if required? I was so tempted to say, yes, I'll do it, just because I want to sound like a Superman and I can do everything. But I said, no, I will not do it. That is not my job. That is not my responsibility. A BA will never ever write code or debug errors or do a comprehensive end-to-end design. Okay? But a BA may be involved in identification of the solution, as discussed in our class on day 1. A BA may be assisting in identification of the solution by ensuring that all the features and functionalities have been met, or all the requirements are being met. They may not spearhead the effort of identification solution. They may not necessarily tell the solution team the technology that they have to use to accomplish the solution. That is the job of an architect. BAs are only interested in ensuring that the requirements are met or not, because you as a business analyst will be acting as a liaison between business users and technical team members. And in fact, if you can promote yourself as an advocate of the users or as the voice of the customer, I'm sure the clients will like you better. Also, BAs will be leading the projects, coordinating projects, acting as a project manager, doing some testing work. Okay, so these are some of the roles BAs may be engaged in. All right, let's open the floor for any questions at this time. Go ahead, Gene.
Yes. You talked about that the BA would never write code. I have a question as it relates to that. When you get down to testing, or I guess quality assurance or the testing phase of the project, you're still involved as a BA. And I've seen on multiple occasions that jobs that are listed that want business analysts to be able to obviously run tests, but in a lot of cases you have to write code in order to conduct the right test. So I just wanted to kind of get your feedback on that, or your thoughts on that.
So I was not too clear. Your voice was very distant. Let me understand your question. Were you asking if you have to write code to test? Is that your question?
Is this better?
Yes, that's a lot better.
Okay. No, what I was saying is when you get to the testing phase of the project, the business analyst is still involved. And I've seen a lot of, I guess, recently I have seen a lot of job postings that want business analysts to be able to perform tests. But if I'm writing a specific, let's say your scenario of the insurance company, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm eliminating 4 of those steps, I have to be able to test that. And in some cases, code needs to be written to effectively test it. Don't you need to be able to write code? And I'm not saying I'm advocating I want to write code. Certainly I can, but I don't necessarily want to. But I've seen a lot of job postings that are asking for business analysts that do write code for that specific purpose. I'm not sorry, not person, but for that specific purpose.
So there are 2 components. Number 1, testing component. The second one is about writing the code. If you have seen some postings about BA being able to write code, I can pretty much guarantee you that it is not necessarily a pure BA role. Most of the consulting companies or some of the technology companies like Cognizant, HP, Emphasis would like to have a candidate who not only can perform business analysis, but they would like to have a candidate also have some insight into development or coding. Okay, so those are not the end clients because they are once again in consulting business and they will be doing that or they'll be having those type of requirements. And the second question is, no, you do not need to write code to test. We will be covering testing related concepts during this program. We will talk about how to write test cases, how to execute test cases, and the tools associated with performing the execution of the test cases. So there is no need for us to be able to write code. There are 2 types of testing, manual and automation. And BA will be confined to just manual testing. So we will not be writing code.
Okay, so in other words, when I see those types of job listings, they are referring to having knowledge of being able to write that code, and that helps you better communicate to your project team, whoever that may be.
Yes, but
okay.
It's not necessarily the act of writing the code on the project.
Right. Completely understand. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Anybody else? Okay. So if you don't have any other questions, I would like to go ahead and ask a question. So yesterday we talked about one of the interview questions. We talked about tell me about yourself, and we also came up with a structure to answer tell me about yourself. As I've indicated, my core competency or my specialty is to be able to clear a job interview. Okay. So what is the next most important question in an interview process? Any guesses? Anybody?
This is Victoria. I think the next one will be how do you qualify for this position?
Very good. The next question is, why should we hire you as a business analyst? Right? Why should we hire you as a business analyst? And what would your response be? Who would like to volunteer to answer that question? Would anybody like to volunteer to answer the question?
I'd like to hear the answer to that question because certainly that is asked a lot.
I'm hoping to see some volunteers to answer that question. Which area would you like to volunteer? Divya, go ahead.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Why should we hire you as a business analyst?
Well, I like to gather information. gather the requirements. I'm very thorough. And I do have an undergrad in computer information systems. So I think I am capable of being a business analyst.
So if you like to gather information, then you should become a journalist. That's what they do, right? Why be?
Well, I just don't like traveling because journalists, that's
You don't
what
have
they
to
do.
travel. You can just be in one city and then do the job. Anybody else? Why do you want to be a BA, or why should we hire you as a business analyst?
I have a thought.
Please go ahead.
The reality is, I like to ask the question why, as opposed to what or where or when. And the importance of the question why is it leads to why someone is doing, why a group is doing something, which will help me define the problem of a process. That's just one thought.
So can we get some feedback from other team members? Would you like to hire Gene for that response if you had to make a decision? You can send a private message in the chat window. Okay. Some are saying maybe, some are saying no, some are saying they didn't understand what you said. Okay. So anybody else, one last opportunity for somebody else to answer. Please be proactive. And as I said, our sessions are highly interactive. Okay. I would like to hear you speak. It's not just a one-way conversation. It's not a monologue. It's a dialogue. So please do unmute and share your thoughts. Go ahead, Lakshmi.
As a business analyst, I think I'm good at investigating goals and issues, good at analyzing information and communicate with a large group of people, and I can very well document all the findings, and I can find solutions. So I should be a better candidate for this position.
Okay, who would like to hire Lakshmi for a response? So Lakshmi, you yourself don't want to hire you. How come? Anyway, I was asked the same question several years ago in an interview that I was appearing for a media company in New York City. Then the interviewing manager asked me, "Hey, why are you a business analyst? Why are you a business analyst?" You know what my response was? I said, "I am a business analyst because it was my passion to be a BA from my childhood." I thought that was a great answer. And that person immediately got mad at me and said, "Hey, do you think I am your uncle or your relative to talk about your emotions and your passions?" I don't care. First of all, I know you didn't know about BA when you were young, because BA, the term BA came into existence around 2000, early 2000 or late 90s. And you telling me that it's a passion is not necessarily true. So then I thought I should have a better answer than that. So then I came up with my answer. And if you would like to know, go ahead and ask me and I'll answer this question.
Naveen,
I'd like to hear it.
Naveen, why should I hire you as a PA in our organization?
Because I'm your trainer, right? So you don't want to hire me?
That's the same answer I got last night.
But it's the same answer I'm giving you again tonight.
That's right.
Well, not all of us can make that claim.
I am a business analyst because 4 reasons only. I possess an analytical mind. I possess good communication skills. I am very thorough with various software development lifecycle methodologies, and I possess industry domain knowledge. For these 4 reasons, I am a business analyst, and therefore I should be hired for this position. I know what analysis is. Analysis is discovery rather than invention. It is fact rather than opinion. It is questions rather than answers. It is problems rather than solutions. It is outcome rather than the process. I, as a business analyst, will understand the needs of the business. Also, I possess good communication skills. I possess good written and oral communication skills. I am able to interact with my users, gather requirements, and interacting with the technical team members. I also possess good oral written skills because I am able to document a variety of artifacts, ranging from requirement artifacts to other project-related artifacts. And I'm also thorough with various software development lifecycle methodologies. I understand waterfall methodology, I understand REP methodologies, I understand agile methodologies, and various other methodologies. And finally, I also possess basic industry domain knowledge. Therefore, I am a business analyst. So who would like to hire me based on my response? Thank you. So, bottom line is, I want you to understand this. I want you to understand one point. Always and always have an outline of your answer. See, a lot of people gave different answers. A lot of people answered in a very generic format in my previous classes or even in real job interviews where I was the interview panel member, or when I heard some of the mock interviews, people who did not obtain this training actually gave generic answers. And when they gave a generic answer, they didn't have the potential to rephrase or repeat it again. See, when we have an answer, we should be able to reproduce it again with the same effect. Okay. So, you as a business analyst or a good interview candidate should be able to have a frame. So, don't give all stories and histories, but just say that you are a BA for 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons, whatever be the number of reasons. Number 1, a BA should possess analytical mind. Number 2, BA should possess good communication skills. I want you to be able to understand that we are trying to tie back everything to the tasks of a business analyst on a day-to-day basis. We as a business analyst will have to gather needs. We as a business analyst will have to communicate with various team members, both orally and also in a written fashion, because we have to document various artifacts. And we as a business analyst should be familiar with the software development lifecycle methodology. Whatever is the methodology that is being employed at that particular organization, we should be knowledgeable about that. Also, we should have a basic understanding of the industry domain knowledge. For example, if you're working in a banking sector, you should have an understanding of what money movement is or what bill pays. If you're working in an insurance company, you should understand how claims are processed. You should understand how quotes are issued. If you're working in a hospital, you should understand how patient administration is done or patient diagnosis is done or how payments are processed. So, you should understand these various things, and these are key for a business analyst to be able to function. My point is very clearly, I don't want you to be just like anybody else. There are so many people trying to become a business analyst, right? We also had some conversations and discussions at the beginning of the class, and everybody's trying to become a BA. Why should you get the job and not somebody else? How can you stand out from the rest of the candidates? How can you convert that interview call or interview into a job offer? When you attend an interview, I would like for you to be able to hit it on the bullseye. You should walk out of the interview saying, yes, I'll get the job. That is my goal for each one of you. Okay, so that's why don't give a generic answer. Okay, we are here to learn, so that's fine, and we are here to experiment. But anyway, this is a practice. So if you are a BA, anytime you try to answer anything, always relate it to the task that you are being hired for.
So if I understand this correctly, and I didn't mean to just cut in on you, but I do have a question here, or a observation / question. You would like for this to be something like our answer to be almost like giving a demonstration, it being of a product, it being the same every time you do it. When you're asked that question, you have it on your mind, you know what it is, and you're ready to respond to it. Almost like giving a demonstration and what the positives are of whatever product you're demonstrating. And in this case, the product would be you or me. Is that correct?
Yes. In fact, according to me, we should be able to guess 99% of the questions in the interview. There could be just one or two questions that may catch you off guard, but 99% of the questions should be expected, and you should know what those questions are. In other words, when you are entering an interview process, you should know what they're going to be asking you, and you should already have an answer. Interview is not a place where you go and say, hey, wow, I didn't know that they were going to ask this question. Okay, let me think. That is not the place to do that, right? Because it's only an opportunity given only once. We have to utilize that opportunity. So having said that, again, as I indicated in my beginning classes, so Gene, again, my advice, my recommendation is to go visit those videos because I did talk about this a little bit. The focus will be also on interview clearance from day one. I'm not going to be talking about how to do an interview after the program is complete. I'm going to be focusing on how to do the interview, clearing a job interview from day one, which is what we've been doing. Okay.
Just as an update, I'll by the end of the week or by the next class Monday, I'll have gone through the last three sessions. So I'll be caught up.
Sure. So anyway, how do you obtain domain-related information? How can you obtain domain information? Domain information can be gained based on your previous experiences, your education. Some of you may possess, degrees in healthcare administration. Some of you may possess finance or commerce degrees, or some of you possess different disciplines, degrees in different disciplines. So that is one way of obtaining the domain-related information. And also there are various online resources. Okay, you can always go to those resources, understand the various systems, and understand the functionalities that the systems will offer to these various domains. And then also, anyway, we will also be discussing 7 different domains as part of a program. And then there is plenty of material that is available to you on the training blocks. So I would encourage you to utilize all of that information. All right. Any questions at this point of time?
Yeah, I noticed you mentioned several degrees. I did notice you mentioned an information technology degree. I guess my question is, would a person with a information technology degree, is that a good discipline for a business analyst?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Because I know that for me, I absolutely love being in front of customers and defining problems. I may not know how to solve all the problems, but I love to define them. And in my mind, that's what a business analyst does. Is that correct?
Yeah. So again, as I said, yes, that is what a BA will do, and BA is only involved in discovering the problem statements, and that is what we will be doing. Okay. So we will discuss more of that as we progress in this program as well. All right. In the interest of time, let's make some progress. Let's go ahead and talk about systems development lifecycle. I would not like to call it as a systems development lifecycle, ideally. I would rather call it as a product lifecycle. I'll tell you why I don't want to call it as a systems development lifecycle and why a product lifecycle. You may be wondering, okay, then why don't you change the title at the top? I don't want to change the title. I want to keep the title, but I would like to strike it off and then call it the product lifecycle. So let's say today there is a brick and mortar branch of Bank of America. There is no online version. So now they decided to offer services to their customers like money transfer or bill pay or ability to check their balance or ability to transfer their money to external accounts or different banks or ability to make some electronic deposits. They would like to offer these services 24/7, 365 days. However, they cannot keep their banks open 24/7. It is not cost effective. They have to pay the bank staff members and they also have to pay the security people, and also it is not a viable thing. So they have an idea to have an online version of the bank. So that is when the initiation phase begins. When a sponsor or the management identifies an opportunity. Once they identify an opportunity, a concept proposal is created. So what is this concept proposal about? They will say, hey, look, this is what we want. The reason is we will be able to provide services to our customer 24/7. And by doing that, we are also able to increase our customer base. Now, once initiation related activities are completed successfully, then the effort will move from initiation to system concept development. Now, the sponsor team, the management team, or the business owners will determine the boundaries or the scope of the system. What are the key functionality that the system should be able to accomplish? Is it going to be providing money transfer, bill pay? Is it just for individual customers? Is it for small businesses? Are we going to offer any investment related services? Are we going to offer this service to people everywhere in the United States or across the globe? So once they identify the scope, the boundary, by creating a scope document or something like that, they will also perform a cost benefit analysis. What is cost benefit analysis? Can somebody please unmute and give me a response according to you? I know some of you have some business degrees or management degrees. What is cost benefit analysis?
Is the cost of, I guess, implementing the solution, is it cost effective as compared to what it's going to cost to actually implement the solution?
Cost benefit analysis, in short, are the benefits greater than the costs or the costs greater than the benefits? Are the benefits outweighing the costs? Okay, that is cost benefit analysis. So once they establish the cost benefit analysis, they'll also perform a feasibility study and they'll also identify potential business risks. See, sometimes you may have the needed money. Okay, sometimes you may have a vision, but it may not be feasible to implement. For example, there is a movie called Avatar. Do you know who directed this movie? Please send it in the chat window. Who directed this movie? And when did it come out? James Cameron. Okay, when did it come out? Which year? 2009 or 2010 time frame, right? But James Cameron had the story and everything for this, including the script, in 1998 or 99. But he waited 10 years to actually make this movie because the technology required to make this movie was not available. So just because you have an idea, just because you know the scope, just because you have the resources doesn't mean you can implement it. There has to be some feasibility study done. Can we implement a solution with the available technologies, with the available resources, within the defined timeline? That is done with consultation from different, with consultation of various representatives from different groups. And then also they are going to identify business risks. They will identify business risks. They will identify larger technical risks that they may come up with. Once this activity completes, then the effort will move from system concept development to planning phase, within which a project manager will be creating a project plan. Or a question pertaining to project management is, when is a project manager hired in a project? Just before the beginning of planning phase, okay, or during the end of system concept development phase. That's when a PM is hired. So now a project manager will prepare a project plan. They will onboard resources, identify resources, onboard the resources, and then a project manager will also create other planning documents pertaining to the project. Once that activity is successful and complete, then the effort will move from planning to requirements gathering phase. So when is a BA onboarded into a project? Before the beginning of requirements phase or towards the end of planning phase. That is when you and I as business analysts will be onboarded. What happens in requirements phase? Requirements are gathered, they are documented, okay, and then business analysts will analyze those requirements and get them reviewed and get the approval. Once the requirements phase is complete, the effort will move from requirements to design, where the solution is designed, where a comprehensive end-to-end solution is designed by the architect. And once the design is complete, the effort will move from design to development, phase number 6, where the actual coding is done, unit testing is done, integration is done. Once all of that is done, then it will move from development to testing. Now, the testing team will validate the application that is built. Once it is done, then it will be implemented. So, there are 3 types of environments. I want you to make a note of this. There are 3 types of environments. What do you mean by, first of all, what is an environment? Let me ask a question. Gmail, okay? Do you think Gmail, well, actually not Gmail, but see, let's say there is an application. Okay? It resides on a particular server with connections to databases, etc. So if you have the same copy of that server 3 times, then you would have 3 different environments. So what are those 3 different environments? One is a development environment. Another one is a test environment. Another one is a production environment or prod environment. What do you mean by development, test, and prod? Development is, this is where they will be able to experiment. They meaning the developers. This is where the developers will build the application, code the application. This is also called a sandbox. Okay. Now, once they are done with the coding of the application, they will copy and paste the application in test environment. This test environment is where testers will be able to validate the application. This is more realistic and closer to the operational environment, daily operations environment. So the testers will validate the application in the test environment. Once it is successful, then they will put it into production, which is called as prod environment. So for example, today if you go to bankofamerica.com, this is in production environment. Or if you go to cnn.com, each of those are production environment. Or if you go to, let's say, gmail.com, they're all in production environments. You would have the exact same version of Bank of America in another environment called test environment, where the application would have been tested. Okay, and the same exact application in dev environment where it was originally developed. So anyway, finally they will move it into implementation phase. Implementation phase or deployment phase, where they are actually putting it in production. Once it is put into production, then the project ends. The project ends. See, the software development life cycle is a subset of the product life cycle. The software development related activity will begin from phase number 4. Once it is in production, the project ends. That's it. Okay. So I have a question here. So you purchased a car. So is that the only time you had to invest money in the car? Or did you incur expenses on your car? Can we get some response in the chat window?
you do incur expenses for
You have oil changes, brake
yes.
changes, tire changes. There's always expenses with a car.
So you would have maintenance related activities, just like any gadget or any car or any vehicle or anything. IT applications also would require some maintenance related activities. So you have to maintain an application. You would have bugs, you would have issues, you would have provision access. Okay, so that is called as your operations and maintenance activities. I have another question. Did anyone upgrade from let's say iPhone 4 to 4S or 4S to 5 or 4 to 5? Have you ever upgraded your iPhone? If yes, what did you do as part of your phone upgradation? What are various activities that you did as part of your upgradation?
Anytime I've upgraded a phone, it might not have been an iPhone, but it's an Android, I've always made sure that it was compatible with what I'm currently using and that it's going to benefit me in the future with future technology that's coming out or that we're going to be implementing.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
Move all the data from your older phones to your newer ones.
Excellent. Excellent. So when you upgrade your phone, or at least when I upgraded my phone from 4S to 5, I just did not take my 4S and put it in the trash can. I first took a backup of that 4S data, and then copied all that data into my new phone. Then I deleted all the data on 4S. I erased everything. My contacts, email, pictures, any other data, any notes, materials. And then I discarded it or decommissioned it. Similarly, when you are disposing of an IT application or a system, you cannot just take it and put it in the trash can. You have to first transfer the data, take backups of the data, ensure that the users have transitioned to the new applications, users are provisioned with access to the newer applications, and then you can discard your old systems. So this slide here doesn't necessarily talk about the software development alone, but all these activities all the way from initiation to product disposition is the life of a product. It is the life of a product. So if I have to draw a graph, considering time on my x-axis and system maturity on my y-axis, it probably would be a bell curve. Initially, the system will be reaching the highest maturity point as it tends to the highest maturity point, and then there is a downfall where you are actually now disposing it off. So this representation is not a software development lifecycle. This representation is a product lifecycle. However, a subset of this product lifecycle is called as software development lifecycle, because this is where you are actually starting to develop an application, which is requirements phase. Design, development, testing, and then finally implementation. Now the development will end after the implementation phase is done. After the application is put into production, the project team is disbanded. Operations and maintenance disposition, they are done by different teams. It's not a project anymore. It's a separate activity. One of the sad things is a lot of people, a lot of senior resources that I have interacted with, do not understand the difference between a system development lifecycle or a software development lifecycle and a product lifecycle and a project lifecycle. These three are different types of life cycles. There is a relationship between these three. We need to understand that. Okay, please be clear. Don't fail to understand the relationship. Therefore, a software development lifecycle is only a subset of product lifecycle. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the general phases of an IT project. See, every IT project would have these 4 phases in common. Every IT project, irrespective of the domain or irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the technology, will have these 4 phases. But the question is, are these 4 phases in the same order? Are these 4 phases done only once? Are these 4 phases repeated? So
I can tell you for a fact that requirements are very often.
Sorry to interrupt you. Please hold your thoughts. Let me finish this. I'll give you an opportunity to speak, and then you can speak at the time. Okay? Thank you. So these are the questions. Now, if you come up with a specific order for these various phases, now it becomes a methodology. If you come up with a different order with the number of iterations for a specific phase or for a set of phases, it becomes another methodology. Okay, but all in all, the basic understanding or the basic knowledge is every project will have these general phases in a IT department. So what are these phases? Requirements, design, development, and testing. By the way, I want everybody to notice and understand that this is a very, very, very important concept. If you don't understand this, you will not understand our future classes. So please pay attention to this. If you're not listening, now is the time for you to get back and pay attention to this. If you miss this, you're not going to get anything that we talk in future. What are requirements about? There are some sets of activities done during the requirement phase. So once these activities are completed, there is an output generated from the requirements phase. Now the output of requirements phase will serve as input into the design phase. Outputs of requirements phase will serve as input into the design phase. There are certain set of activities done in design phase. The outputs of design phase, together with the outputs of requirements phase, will serve as inputs into the development phase. It is not just the output of the design phase, but the outputs of design plus requirements will serve as input into the development phase. Now there are some activities done in development phase. The output of development phase, together with the outputs of design phase, together with the outputs of requirements phase, will serve as inputs into the testing phase. Okay, so let's go ahead and understand each of these phases individually. Let us go ahead and define what each of these phases are. Let us understand the key people in each of these phases. Let's start with requirements. So what is a requirement? Can somebody please give me a quick definition of a requirement along with an example? We keep using the word requirements and needs interchangeably. So I have 2 questions. Number 1, are they one and the same or are they different? Okay, and also define these terms.
Have you already gone over this?
I'm sorry, what was your question again?
I said, have you already gone over this in an earlier class?
No, we haven't.
Okay, there's definitely a difference between a need and a what was the other term you used?
Requirements.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. A business requirement is something that well, I guess maybe, how do I want to say this? A business requirement is something that's needed, I guess, to produce a potential new product. However, a need is something that a functional unit or a department has to have in place at all times in order to do their jobs effectively.
So is there a relationship between a need and requirement, or are they 2 distinct terms?
There's a relationship there, but there are differences because you can have needs, you can have wants or desires. I mean, there's a whole scope of things there that fall under that.
I'm talking about the definition of requirements and needs within the context of IT projects. So if there is a difference, what is that difference? What is What is the difference between a requirement and a need? Can somebody please unmute and give me a response? Anybody else?
Requirement.
It's a document used for the purpose of building new systems for a business. That is
What
a
about
requirement.
Okay. What about a need?
Need is what the business really needs, like what is necessary to develop the new software or the system that they.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Rajat.
Requirement is to material you need to start a business, and need is the material to run a business.
Requirement is material to start a business, while need is material to run a business. Okay,
Yep.
Interesting definition. Lakshmi, go ahead.
A requirement, it talks about the details of getting that function or the task done, and a need is about what the customer wants.
Can you give an example to illustrate the definition? See, one thing I always don't notice with your responses is any of you, not just one person. You don't support your answer with an example. I've been insisting on giving examples. Please provide an example. Go ahead, Lakshmi.
Hello?
Yeah, Lakshmi, please continue with your example.
Maybe example about a paper, when you manufacture a paper or something, a requirement talks about what the paper sizes are, what is on the paper, etc., something like that. So, sorry. And about the need, it's about the paperwork or something, the function that they want to accomplish.
Anybody else who hasn't answered yet? I'd like to give opportunity to others who did not speak.
This is Rashmika. Can you hear me
Good, Rashmika.
clearly?
Yes.
As far as I understand, requirement is what BA has gathered to design the project. For example, as far as I understand, if you're building an IT system for Bank of America, the requirement will be to create the whole project plan, how it works, get with all checking accounts and different things accounts. But the need was to create an online transaction system. It may not mention all the required parts.
So I have a follow-up question to this. I would like to get some response in the chat window. Which one of these is mandatory and which ones of these is optional?
Can you ask that question again, please?
Between requirements and needs, which one of them is mandatory and which one is optional?
This is Victoria. Can I answer?
You can send your response in the chat window.
Okay.
So we have a mixed response. Some are saying requirement is mandatory, some are saying need is mandatory, some are saying need is not mandatory, some are saying need is mandatory. Okay. Some are saying requirement is a must. So we as business analysts should know what a requirement is and what a need is. Because every time or any time you come across the word requirements, just know that they're talking about you. They're talking about your job. Okay. So what is a requirement? A requirement is a condition or a capability that the system must conform to. In other words, it is mandatory. It is not optional. You cannot move away from it. You have to have it. while need is a representation of a requirement at a high level. For example, you need BA training. That's a need. But your requirement is you need online training only. You need a weekday training only. You need evening batch only. You need the instruction, or you require the instructions to be in English. You require this program to be 36 hours. You require this program to be from Monday to Thursday only. So a need will give you a high-level representation. For example, email is a need, ability to email. But then there are certain specific requirements that this email has to have. Login functionality, ability to send email, ability to receive emails, ability to compose emails, ability to sort emails, ability to flag emails. Payment is a need. Ability to check out is a requirement. Ability to pay with a credit card is a requirement. Ability to pay with a bank card is a requirement. Ability to pay with a bank account is a requirement. Ability to check out with PayPal is a requirement. Ability to compute the tax is a requirement. Ability to calculate the shipping charges is a requirement. Order details is a need. Ability to track the order. Ability to view the order history, order summary. Those are requirements. Therefore, a requirement is a condition or a capability. Please note it as a key term or a jargon. I don't want you to miss this definition. A condition or a capability to which a system must conform to, while need is a high-level representation of a requirement. So anyway, what happens in requirements phase? Within requirements phase, business requirements are gathered. And who is the main focus? Business users, because that's who will be providing you with the requirements. And then the product team members, because they may be product experts. So if there's a product involved, they may be providing with information. Project manager, and then business analysts. Therefore, BAs and business users are the key people of requirements gathering phase. What are the deliverables of requirements phase? Requirements document is a deliverable of requirements phase. But because each one of you is going to be a BA, professional, don't use the word document. Instead, what should you use? Any guesses? What should you use instead of the word document?
Artifact.
Artifact. Excellent. So the deliverable of requirements phase is a requirements artifact. Okay. So what will a requirements artifact contain? A requirements artifact will contain information about who is going to use the system, which is the users of the system, how will they use the system, what is the input into the system, what is the output of the system, what is the overall result of the system, as in how it performs, not how it will accomplish. We are not going to be talking about the solution, we are going to be talking about what the outcome is. That is what a requirements artifact will talk about. Moving on, what happens in design phase? The software system design is produced from the results of the requirements phase. Who are the main focus? Architects. It could be a functional architect, it could be a data architect, it could be a systems architect. What are the deliverables of design phase? Architecture diagrams. In short, the deliverable design phase is a design artifact. What would a design artifact contain? Logical architecture diagram, physical architecture diagram, and then some other UML diagrams. For now, I want you to put UML diagrams in a, what is this? What is PLL?
Parking lot list.
What is a parking lot list?
It is a tool or a technique that we can be using it at the later part of the time when we need it.
Parking lot list is a tool or technique that we will utilize if we have to come back to something at a later point in time. Okay. So UML diagrams are also part of your design artifact. So let's go ahead and quickly talk about the architecture diagrams here. So we have two types of architecture diagrams at a high level: logical architecture and then physical architecture diagram. What is this logical architecture diagram about? See, every system, every IT application will have to have a specific logic implemented as part of its development. So if you are able to show the flow of the functionality, in a diagrammatic format, then it simply is called as a logical architecture diagram. For example, here in this representation, you have a client layer, Internet Explorer with Flash as a plugin is on the client layer. Then there is a presentation layer, then there is a business layer, then there is a data layer. So data from client layer is flowing into presentation layer, from presentation to business. Business again has multiple modules. Information is flowing back and forth, and then data layer is also involved with business layer in terms of sending the data and receiving the data. So if an individual is able to represent the flow or the logic involved in a diagrammatic format, it is called as a logical architecture diagram. We as business analysts don't do logical architecture diagrams. Okay, that is not our job. We will never ever do a comprehensive design. Here is another example of a logical architecture diagram. There is a user trying to do a basic search. You can do basic search and advanced search in a catalog or in a library, or when you're searching for jobs or any other items in an e-commerce portal. So there are full text searches, finding aid index search, information object, metadata index search, access point index search. And then they are all connected to some other business objects, and then which in turn are connected to some databases. There are some data entities or taxonomies defined within these databases. And then there is an output here, as you see, a presentation layer where user will access this information. So a logical architecture diagram is concerned with the functionality that the system provides to the users. But what about a physical architecture diagram? So today we have Gmail. Do you think Gmail resides on just one computer or one server? No. Gmail resides on several servers. For this Gmail application to work, it has several hardware components. It's not just one piece of hardware, right? There are several databases, several servers, several routers, various firewalls. So if in a project, if somebody identifies the hardware components involved in the building of an application, then it simply is called as a physical architecture diagram. Let me explain it again. If somebody identifies the hardware components and the connections between those hardware components for a system to function, it simply is called as a physical architecture diagram. Here you have a client workstation connected to external app server, and then connected through internet access, which are again connected through a hub. There is a data server, account server, internal app server, marketing workstation, sales workstation, and accounts application connected to account server. Let me show you another example. There's a client machine. Internet is represented by a cloud, and then there's a firewall, a load balancer, web server 1, 2, 3, 4. Web server 1 and 2 are connected to app server 1. Web server 3, 4 are connected to app server. See, they are not directly connected to the database server. So my point is, if somebody can identify the physical components along with the connections between those physical entities, then it simply is called as a physical architecture diagram. And it is done by an architect, not a business analyst. Moving on to the development phase. What happens in development phase? Code is produced from the deliverables of development phase. Who's the main focus? Developer. Okay. What is the deliverable? Code itself is the deliverable of development phase. And then typically development phase is the longest phase of any SDLC methodology. Sometimes it will overlap with design and testing phases. Finally, we have testing phase. What happens in testing phase? The application that is being built is validated in the testing phase. Validated for what? Validated for errors, for bugs. Who are the main focus? Testers are the main focus. QA analysts. What are the deliverables of testing phase? A test plan, test cases, test results, performance reports. What is a test plan? At a high level, I'll give you this information because there are templates in our portal, and I would encourage you to access those templates and go through them. We will also be reviewing when we talk about our testing concepts as part of this program. A test plan is a high-level document where they will identify the different types of testing that will be conducted as part of the project, where they will identify the resources, the technology, the tools that they'll use, and the entry criteria, exit criteria. Test cases again are steps written to provide an individual to validate the application. Results are the test cases or test cases executed. And then performance reports are summaries reports or performance reports are finally created by test leads or test managers to provide an overview of the testing activity and the results thereof. Okay. So all in all, to summarize, the requirements phase where you are gathering requirements, BA, subject matter expert or business users are the key people. And then analysis, generally these two are combined together. Requirements gathering and analysis are combined together. BA, subject matter expert again are involved in this phase. So in analysis phase where this is where you'll be doing your use cases, you're detailing, you're identifying the specifications, and then you are also identifying the UML diagrams. We are also going to be doing all of that as part of a program. Design phase is where you're creating software design, system architect, and then also a BA. Why a BA in design phase? To provide any clarifications pertaining to the functionality or requirements. Implementation, developers will build the application. If there is any need for the functionalities or requirements to be clarified, a BA will do that. Then in testing phase, application is validated, and finally, the application is deployed during deployment phase. So, at this point of time, I would like to go ahead and open the floor for any questions. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
There was one definition you really want us to write, but I missed that because that was too quick. I don't know which one was that.
The definition of requirements.
Yeah, so can you repeat that?
So can somebody define what a requirement is?
Something that has to be had in order for the solution to work.
A requirement is a condition or a capability to which a system must conform. Okay. All right. Any other questions? So please understand, this is very, very important and very critical for you as a business analyst, because if you don't understand this concept, it will be very difficult to understand the future topics, because everything is based on this foundational concept. That is why I'm taking a lot of time explaining things slowly and in detail and giving each one of you an opportunity to ask questions. But in future, we will pick up pace. And at that time, I'm not going to be talking about these fundamental concepts because we already discussed these things. Okay? So you should be able to be thorough with all these concepts that we are discussing. What is a parking lot list? What is PLL? PLL stands for parking lot list. We did discuss parking lot list yesterday in our class. It's a tool or a technique for project managers or business analysts or anybody in a project to utilize for them to be able to handle issues or manage conflicts. Okay.
Can you explain what a discussion is?
Can you please come closer to the microphone? Your voice is not clear.
Okay. Can you give a little bit explanation what is deliverable? I know you've used it a couple of times, but I'm just finding it difficult to, you know.
You want to understand what a deliverable is. A deliverable is something that is produced after an activity or set of activities or tasks. Something that has to be produced.
Can you say that again?
A deliverable is an outcome or an artifact that has to be produced after an activity or set of activities.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Can you go back to the, I have one quick question also. Can you go back to the software development lifecycle, or what you refer to as the product lifecycle? Is the BA from phase 3 all the way through the disposition? Okay, so the BA is basically 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and beyond that, the BA is not involved. Is that correct?
The project ends beyond that.
Okay.
The project ends beyond that. However, in some of the organizations, BAs are also required to work on production support activities. We will talk about that as we progress in our program.
Thank you.
I have one more question. Now, when you say in your response that you know, have we qualified for the position, you said we should mention our knowledge of the SDLC methodology. Now, what does that mean? Is that I know the SDLC is the System Development Life Cycle. Are you saying that we should like use the process of you know, so our understanding of the process of the development of the product, like the requirements, the design, the development, and you know, all this process that that is on the SDLC.
So those are the phases of SDLC methodologies for some.
Now, during the interview, are we supposed to, like, is this what we're supposed to be talking about? Like, showing that we have knowledge of the stages that is involved in the product development?
So we will talk about SDLC methodologies in our next class, and then you'll understand it. Okay, there are various SDLC methodologies, not just one or two, but there are several methodologies that we'll cover as part of a program, and you will understand all of that. Okay? All right. So now, what I would like to do is, now is an interesting part of this program, and also a very important part of this program. As I said, there are two goals for me, for each one of you. Number one, to help you clear a job interview. Number two, to sustain in the job. How will you be able to sustain in a job unless you have some practical experience? So what I'm going to be doing is I'll allocate a case study to each one of you. Okay, you can work on a particular case study. I have about several case studies here, and I want each one of you to choose a particular case study. The items in red color indicates the title of the case study, and then these are the scope items. There are 5 scope items for every case study, and you will be creating a variety of artifacts for each of these case studies. For example, you'll be creating use cases, test cases, requirement artifacts, UML diagrams, activity diagrams, RTM, and you will also be doing a presentation for your case studies. You'll be doing GUI screens, data dictionaries as part of this program. So this is exactly what you would be doing in a real-time BA job also. This will give you hands-on experience. So there are various case studies. So please select a particular case study that you want to work on, and let me know. I'll mention it in this list against your name. You can send a private or you can send a public chat message in the window.
Are the case studies on the website?
No, they are here. There are other case studies, but I want you to select one of these case studies listed here. Okay, so let's go ahead. So we have Samir choosing the banking system.
You had different case studies up earlier.
Yeah, just a second. Let's see if people are done with this page. So there's one more application called document management system. Who would like to choose document management system? This is a very popular application. A lot of organizations are using document management systems like SharePoint, Microsoft Visual Source Safe, Documentum, LiveLink, Discovery. So who would like to choose document management system? All right, Gene, go ahead. Okay, so I see some redundant case studies, but I'll make sure that we have all these different case studies being covered, because I would like to have as much diversity as possible. I'd like to be able to discuss all these case studies in our class. Okay, so Ashmika Hospital. So please also note down the points below that case study, those 5 line items. Those are your scope items. Okay. I did not see anyone choosing auto insurance. So there is a eBay website, then there is budget management system, auto insurance. I want somebody to pick these 3. So Icharya, I'll go ahead and allocate auto insurance to you. Okay, because somebody has already picked hospital management system.
Okay, can I do the documentation, the last one?
Let's leave it to Gene. It's a very complex system. So let's make Gene work on that. Okay. See, I'm saving some trouble for you.
Did you say you were seeing trouble for me?
And I'll say, no, it's anyway. It's see, I would like to have as much diversity as possible. I don't want people to repeat these case studies. Okay.
Can I see the slide for the auto insurance?
Yes, one second. Let's see. I still am yet to receive responses from Jayasri Lakshmi. Okay, Jayasri, you said health insurance. Lakshmi online bank. Okay. Lakshmi, I want you to do budgeting system. And Jayasri, I want you to be able to work on Facebook application.
That's a very popular one right now.
Okay. Ijeoma, I didn't get any response. Neha, I didn't get any response from you either. And Huali, I would like for you to work on website that sells cars. Okay. Neha, I want you to work on Neha bidding, eBay application. And Shruti, if you can work on YouTube. Would anybody else like to have any other system besides these case studies mentioned here? Would you like to work on anything else? For example, something from your work or something from your experiences or education?
Naveen, just a quick question. I chose the library system, so now you don't want me to do that, you want me to do the YouTube, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to go back to that page. Yeah. Thank you.
Somebody already chose library management system. Once again, I'll share the screen where I wrote the case studies against your name. All right, let's say Geoma. Please work on the email application. Or actually, let's not do that. Let's actually have. I would like to have 2 banking applications and 2 healthcare applications or 2 hospital management systems. So Ijeoma, I want you to work on hospital management system. Okay, and then I want Deep to also work on a banking application. All right. So here are the case studies. Okay, please take a look at the screen here. Deep will be working on a banking application. Divya website that sells flight tickets or flight travel website. And Isharia auto insurance. Gene will be working on document management system. Wally would be working on website that sells cars. Wally cars. Ijeoma would be working on hospital management system. Jayasri would be working on Facebook. Lakshmi would be working on budget management system. Neha would be working on bidding system, which is eBay. Pradeep would be working on health insurance system. It is not hospital system, it is a health insurance system. Ranjod, library management. Rashmika, hospital management system. Samir Bank, ShrutiYouTube.com. Okay, are we clear? Now, is there anyone who would like to also capture the information? Okay, hospital management system.
I'd like to capture the information on document management.
Okay. So, what I would like to do for each one of you is, I wanted to talk about this in our next class, but I'll just give some information so that you can utilize the time over the weekend. We are going to be creating a requirements artifact. We are going to be creating data dictionaries. We are going to be creating a variety of artifacts for each of these case studies. So there is bad news and good news. What do you want to hear? Bad news or good news? Which one first?
Give us the bad news, and then we'll feel better at the end of the class.
The bad news is there are no business users to give you the requirements. You are the business user, you are the business analyst. So you will have to pull your hair, you will have to fight with yourself, you will have to struggle to come up with requirements. That's the bad news. But the good news is which is the best news. You are developing artifacts for applications that already exist. You're not doing these requirements, or you're not going to be doing data dictionaries, or you're not going to be doing other artifacts for systems that are brand new. But you're doing these artifacts and assignments for systems that are already existing and that are already being used that are in production today. So for example, whoever is doing this bidding application, you're just going to be doing a reverse engineering. You will look at eBay site, you will experiment eBay application, you will write the requirements of eBay. That is what your bidding application is. If you are doing a YouTube, go to youtube.com, identify the features, functionalities, and write the requirements for that. I'll discuss all the requirements, etc. in our next class. If you are doing Facebook, now you go to facebook.com. This is your application. If you are doing an auto website, autos.yahoo.com. If you are doing a travel website or flight ticket, that will sell flight tickets, expedia.com, Orbitz, or travel.yahoo.com. Okay. Or if you're doing insurance.com, there are tons of insurance companies, right? You can go to, let's say, Farmers Insurance. Okay. Get a quote. You may have a policy, right? And if you have a bank case study, you may have a bank account. You know the features and functions. So now you have to go into that application, experiment, research it, understand it. Or let's say you're doing hospital management system. You can do a Google search. If you go to sourceforge.net, as discussed in our class, there are plenty of hospital management system softwares. Okay. You can download them and install them on your system. Or you can even just look at some samples. For example, some of the hospital management system applications are like this. See, patient registration, nursing, investigation, doctor consultation, reports, specialties, resource management, financial management, pharma management, store management. Now this is a hospital management system. So whoever is doing this, who is doing hospital management system? Gioma and Rashmika. So please, utilize this opportunity. Okay. Or let's say if you are doing health insurance, you may have Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or any other health insurance plan. So you know how to access it. Library management system. Okay. Just do a Google search and you will come up with plenty of applications. So you can search for a book, you can reserve a book, you can check out a book. Okay. So I'm just talking about applications in general. I'm just giving you a high level understanding of these various systems or various case studies that have been allocated. But what is it that you have to do? I'll tell you next week. Okay, you are creating a variety of documents. You'll be creating requirements artifacts in Word document. You'll be creating data dictionary in Excel sheet. You'll be creating UI screen. So we'll discuss all of that. But for now, I want you to be just familiar with your applications. Document management system. I'm not sure if you're familiar with document management system already. So if you click on document management software, there are plenty of document management softwares. Okay. So you can go to any of these and you can understand the features about a document management system. Okay. So what are the features of document management system? Create documentation. Send a documentation on a workflow. Check a documentation out. Check in a document. Provision users. Right. So these are some of the features of a document management system. All right. So don't worry. You will understand everything as we progress in our class, and you will be able to create all these artifacts based on the discussions in the class. But for now, I want you to be able to just be familiar with these applications.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do you want a ECM or do you want just a plain document management system?
Plain document management system.
So you don't need an ECM, so to speak, like Documentum.
Documentum is also a document management system.
Yeah, but it's also an ECM. So that's why I asked.
See, I'm not just interested in having. I gave you the scope for a document management system, as you see on the screen. As long as you cover these points in your requirements, I'm fine, whether you call it ECM or whether you want to call it DMS or whatever.
Okay. And then lastly, in the tasks on assignment 2, you said that you want our project plan should include various phases, tasks, percentage complete, duration, start date, finish date, predecessors, and resources. Have you covered that, all of these, in the previous chats?
Yes, we did cover in our previous session. So please
okay,
review
so
our
I'll be able to
video,
go back.
and
I'll be able to go. Yeah, I'll be able to go back, listen to them, and then get caught up by Monday and present and submit the assignment.
Okay.
I want to ask when this one is due. Like,
there is no assignment pertaining to the case studies yet. Okay. I'll answer each one of your questions. There are more questions in the chat window, so Divya, I'll come to you also in a minute. Please understand, I think everybody's getting confused. Right now, you just chose a case study.
Okay.
But over the weekend, I want you to be able to do some research about a case study. Get familiar with this application. You may have not used an insurance application before. You may have not used a banking application before. Just experiment. Just play with it.
I mean,
so
like,
that you are prepared for next week when we have more assignments, then it will be easy for you. But right now, there is no assignment pertaining to these case studies. Okay?
I'm still confused. Like, what we actually, how you want us to phrase this, how you want us to make it, you know, like some kind of outline or something. If we have in our hand, we should know that's our directions.
Everything will be given to you.
Okay.
There are clear instructions. I'll demonstrate everything. I'll first do it in the class and then give you an assignment, just like I did within the project.
All right.
I apologize. That question led to another question that I have. So you just want a project and basically the outline and then export it as a PDF?
Yes, so just follow the instructions. We have posted instructions on the blog. So if you click on this assignments and case studies, you will see instructions. Follow the instructions as it is. Create a project plan in MS Project, export in PDF, and then attach it. I don't want MPP files on the blog.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it says your project plan should include, and then it says various phases, tasks, percentages, percent complete, duration, start date, finish date, process, predecessors, and resources. Should we include all of that into the project?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other question? Anybody else besides Jean and Ranjot? Because they may have more questions, and I'll answer those questions later on. Or did they cover all the questions for you?
I'm clear. I mean, we have to download MS Project 2013.
Okay. So somebody asked me, how do we export into PDF? I'll just give a quick piece of information here. There is an option to save it as PDF. Okay, or there are options to export depending on the version that you're using. You can export it into PDF. It will generate a PDF format. all you need to do is save that PDF document and then attach it.
I was going to say, if you can't do that, then you can just write it through the or print it through a PDF printer.
Let me actually show you one from my previous batch. Okay, just a second here. In the meanwhile, are there any other questions? Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, here we go. See, somebody actually created this in MPP 2013, and then they exported into PDF like this. Okay, so you have an ID, task name, duration, start date, finish date, predecessors, resource names. This is what it looks like. Is everyone clear? Yes, no, Divya, clear?
The task name or the requirements don't match up to what you're asking us in the assignment.
How do you mean? You mean the title is different?
Well, if you look at discovery phase, planning phase, requirement gathering, preparation phase,
Don't worry
launch
about
phase.
that. I'm not worried about the work breakdown structures. Okay, I just want you to get an idea, or I just want you to be exposed to using a project plan tool. That's all I'm asking. I don't care what you put inside. You can even put, so that's why, I discussed all these things, but I'll quickly give you this information. You can even create a project plan. Let's say you are now trying to become a business analyst. It's a project, right? You would have scouted for organizations that provide BA training, attended some demo sessions, then completed your enrollment, got access, attend classes, do the assignments, create a resume, right? Or you may be going on a vacation. You may have a plan. You can put that also. Okay. So the objective is for each one of you to be able to have some hands-on experience with this tool. I don't care what these task names are or what the project is about.
Great, understood.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody else? So Divya, if you can stay back, I can address all your questions. Or if anyone has any other questions that you'd like to talk or ask, I'd be happy to answer your questions. If you don't have any other questions, thank you for your participation tonight. We will reconvene back again on Monday, July 22nd at 6 Pacific, 8 Central, 9 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you and have a good weekend ahead.
Thank you. Have a good night and weekend, everyone.
Yeah, Pradeep, go ahead and unmute. And what is your issue?
It's not download. I mean, it's downloaded, but it's not. It's showing me an error. I'm not sure. I downloaded the 64-bit laptop.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. It's downloading but not installing?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you go through the process of registration, whatever you have to do?
Yes. Yes, I did.
But what is your operating system? Is it Vista or XP?
7.
Huh?
Windows 7.
Okay, I think you need Windows 8 as per the requirements for 2020. So if you don't have Windows 8, then you can try and download other versions like 2010 or any other versions.
Okay. I'll try that, and if I'm not able to do that, I'll that in the blog and see.
Yes, post your questions in the blog,
Okay.
and people should be able to answer your questions. Okay. If you have questions, inquiries, or announcements, somebody will answer your questions.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Naveen.
Yeah, thank you. Have a night.
नहीं यहाँ पर शेयर नहीं इसको कुछ ही जो मैं तो क्वेश्चन एंड पूछा और अरे अगर पूछू पावे अगर इन्हें ट्राई करो सुनो सही जैसे ओके नहीं चाहिए किसी पास ले तो ना सुनो करने लीव करें